Exclusive meeting of those who didn't go to the beach. And I just want to say, when you're gardening, either put on sunscreen or wear a hat, because otherwise this is what happens. I have been fighting skin cancer for 30 years or so wear a hat. Okay, I've selected 5 Caparn designs to show. His country retreat in Briarcliff Manor at 220 South State Road. New York Zoological Park, that's the first of 2 public places. The others are private. Wildmere in Onteora Park in the Northern Catskills, and Hohenzollern here, and I got the T. Yeah. Very good.
Wait, can you say that again?
Hohenzollern.
Yeah,
That's very good. Okay. So we'll be looking at those, and they're all Caparn efforts. So I spent 28 years doing administration and teaching. And aside from that, how did I get raked into gardens and landscape design? 2 things. It started, one, as a child. My father was superintendent of growing and grounds for the estate of Lessing J. Rosenwald, chairman of Sears Roebuck. And I grew up on the estate through World War II. And then the next March, I observed things that he used to do, and where he grew watercress and things like that.
Where was that?
There was a brook coming into a pond behind our house, and he made a little watercress bed in that brook. Yeah. So if you have a brook, there's another use for it. 2, and perhaps most important, was that in 2005, I was given from Reese Caparn's estate the archive of Harold Caparn, who's over there. That's Harold. Okay. And the main thing from that was it included a client list. No one knew before what he had done, the scope of things that he had done. So I started researching the client list, and that formed the basis of the book that I most recently put out. The earlier one was 460 pages because nobody had heard of him for 60 years. I thought it had to be comprehensive. This was only 260 pages. And I'm donating copies of the book for the benefit of the Briarcliff Manor Historical Society. The price on the book is $29.95, and for an extra nickel, I'll sign it. So, there's no change. Yeah. Okay. This is highlights of Harold's career. Actually, he started at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden with Norman Taylor, who was curator of plants. He and Harold put together a collection of plants that were within 100 miles of New York City. And that became the Native Flora Garden, which is still at Brooklyn Botanic Garden. It has been redesigned a little bit over time and added to and so forth, but it's still there 100 years later. He was elected a fellow, which is a lifelong acclamation in 1905. He had gone to Italy and France in the summer before. He came back, he gave a report to the New York chapter of ASLA. You'll understand that means American Society of Landscape Architects. Then I don't have to repeat all that long. Okay. The two of the people who were in that meeting were John Charles Olmsted, the first president of the ASLA, and his brother Frederick Law Olmsted Jr., who was a president just shortly thereafter. Harold Caparn was elected president in 1911, and he was the first not a founding member, which indicates something of the respect that they had for him. All the founding members voted him as a fellow. And he was president in 1911. He taught at Columbia University on the informal style of landscape design. There were three people from the New York ASLA chapter. One taught informal design, that was Harold Caparn. One taught formal design. One taught the practice. Okay, so I have as a handout some of his writings on the informal style of design. He's very concise, very clear. If you read it, you will understand. If you look at an informal design, what is it all about? Otherwise, if you want to do it, here's something you can do. Those are free handouts on the table over there. So here's the plot on South State Road 220, and I want to point out a couple of things. One is that he made this driveway in with a circle, and it's made it easy to go in and around and out. There was a building there, not a barn. I've seen round barns and square barns and rectangular barns, but I haven't seen one like this. There was some kind of a building there. It may have been another house. And he put it in the name of his wife, Clara Caparn. She had divorced a husband in North Carolina, moved to New York to teach voice. She had a studio there. And the rumor in the family is that in the year that they married in 1906, she was earning $12,000 a year. That translates today to about $300,000. And I expect that Harold was doing something similar, only he did. Well, he was doing the Bronx Zoo then. They didn't pay in one big lump sum. Probably divided it up. So his income was from time to time as he had commissions. And he had a lot of commissions for nice estates up and down Westchester and elsewhere. So.
Where would that be today? Where would that map be today?
Where would that map?
In other words,
the map itself, I think, is in the historical.
No, what I'm trying to say is if I get into my car.
220 South State Road.
Still there?
Still there. Yeah, it's
the black, dark building that they designate above it. It's where Mrs. Dow's school.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Does that help you orient?
Yeah.
Was Mrs. Dow's school what eventually became Briarcliff College?
Yes.
And then Pace. Yeah, and I don't know what is behind there now.
Show you that on the way home.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is, back up one step. In his education, he spent 2 years at l'École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. Architecture. He studied architecture further when he got back at Columbia University. It is my contention that this craftsman-style building was designed by Harold Caparn. And let me take you inside and show you, well, let me take you inside. Here we are. So the second level, the lowest level was for sleeping and kitchen. This was the second level. You'll notice that the walls are quite solid and there's an arched ceiling that is wood in a rectangle. That makes a very nice acoustic environment. So the piano there was something that both Clara and Harold played. And on occasion, they invited people from Briarcliff Manor in for a musicale in the evening. Yeah. You'll notice stickly furniture.
Yes.
And yeah. Stickly furniture, the grand piano, and then the windows behind that would communicate nature and just light coming in to work. This is the circle that we showed in the map around the driveway. He enhanced it with his plantings. This is a photograph of his daughter, Reese, used for perspective. You can see these great bushes. This is his photograph. It is held in the Library of Congress in a collection called American Memory. And she's about 12, so this is about 1921 that this picture was taken. And going around, here is her sister Anne and Reese on the right. And you see an enhancement of the driveway with a bed of roses. This is how they were listed in the 1918 New York Social Summer listing. And you'll see her name is given as Clara Jones Royal. That was her earlier married name. Fernie Farm. And Lieutenant George Claiborne Royal was a career Army officer, but Lieutenant Ken Claiborne Royal had an interesting career. He graduated Phi Beta Kappa from University of North Carolina. He went to Harvard and got an LLB, that is Bachelor of Laws. He rose to the level of general in the Army, and under Harry Truman, he was appointed as the first Secretary of the Army, a cabinet position. So here are two visitors who would have come to Briarcliff Manor, along with their two daughters, Anne and Reese. This is Reese in a photo by Suichi Tsunami, a well-known Japanese-American photographer who spent a great deal of time photographing the whole collection of the Museum of Modern Art in New York. She's age 24 here, and this was just before she would open her first solo sculpture exhibit at a gallery in New York. It's also, and we'll come across this later, at the age at which Harold invited her to do some sculptural work on something he designed for the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. This is Clara in that room that we saw. Looks like she has a pile of letters and is doing correspondence. So Harold in 1905 said, the general design of the garden is more important than anything else. You can always replace the flowers, you can, whatever you want to do with them. But make the design of the garden good, strong, and so forth. So what we're looking at today is to consider moving our ideas from planting here and there, going to a nursery and say, oh, I like that, and I like that, and I like that. Take them home and put them here and there, to go to planning what you're going to put where. Yeah, the whole point is making a plan before you start planting. What does a garden or landscape need? Sun. How much sun?
It depends on the plant.
Some sun might be mottled shade or full shade. And you need to have water supply. However you do that, not rely on rain. You have a purpose in mind when you're designing the garden. Is it going to be an entry to your property? An entry to your home? Is it to enhance something in the property? You have a sculpture or something else. So what is the purpose? And the style, will it be rectilinear, formal in design, or curvilinear and informal in design, or some combination of those two? And we'll see at least one example that will have a combination of those. And how much space do you want to give to it? Will you give right up to the property line? Do you want to put a border before you get to the property line? Do you want to go beyond the property line? At home, I took one of Harold's ideas and designed something in the front lawn so that as you get out of the car, your eye is carried to the next property where there's a nice mature tree. So that tree on another property becomes part of the vista from Briarcliff. Another idea. So how much space? Whether any of you have been to Tanglewood or to the Mount, Edith Wharton's place, you go out the front, and then there are very formal clipped trees. But beyond that, she had left it wild. And you'll see a place here where there's a transition from garden to natural surroundings. So we're going to look now at the first of the big works that he did. He started work on the Bronx Zoo in 1899. And he spent 5 years on it. Didn't complete it because he had designs that others continued with, and you'll see some of those. Here's his plan for the entrance to the Astor or Baird or Astor Court. That's this area here. So this is the court. The entrance, another roundabout, great steps up to, and he did in a number of places, including Briarcliff Manor, he designed something where music could be performed. He had a very strong background in music. And when he graduated from what was high school in Newark-on-Trent, he was made a tutor for the choristers, that is the young people who are singing in the choir for Canterbury Cathedral. St. Edmund's School is well known. It supplies organists and choir directors all over England. He was a tutor there, and he sang in the choir of the Canterbury Cathedral. Here's the, right here is the place where he made a bandstand. The zoo hierarchy said, it'll disturb the animals. So they moved this sea lion pool up here and made a larger court here. In 1902, William Rockefeller was in Como, Italy, and he saw this wonderful fountain. He had it dismantled, brought it to New York, gave it to the Bronx Zoo. Now you remember the Caparn's plan for the zoo? It's rectilinear. All those trees are in straight lines. And Caparn, when he saw this, said, I think I have a better place for that. We'll make it the focal point as you drive in. Remember, the roofs of the buildings at the zoo are red tile, very Italianate. And this would go, this exuberance of this fountain would go there, and he would then make some plantings that are Italianate across here. These, and he designed this balustrade here. Here's the fountain, and we have this wonderful early motor car. There's the balustrade and the great steps, a photograph. They're on either side of the center, and where you see roses across here, and the roses are guarded by two crouching cougars, lest children explore to try and get some of the roses, with the formal small, very clipped hedges. Here is the sea lion pool here, and this was Baird and then Astor Court, and this is the monkey house. This is the lion house. If you stood over here, you had this nice lawn to look over here to the Beaux-Arts style design, and notice that he's already planted trees around in very straight lines. Okay. You see why he felt that the fountain was maybe a step too far for this formal court of the zoo, and why he put it in as the entering focal point. Later, fortunately, after he died, someone at the zoo felt that the peacocks, who had a natural surrounding behind that's the elephant house, now it's an entry point to the zoo. They felt that they could get the peacocks to come out and look at themselves in these balls, reflected balls. The peacocks thought better of it, and they never came out. But this illustrates a point that Caparn had made earlier. Don't scatter irrelevant things. These had no connection with the rest of the design. They're irrelevant to it. And the peacocks knew that. He even, Caparn, in support of that view, this is Jackson Hole, and John D. Rockefeller donated another 300,000 acres, and this became Grand Teton National Park. But it illustrated that some people wanted to put in hotels and little high-rises here, and he, in his ecological sense, was against it, and this is what he said to the National Parks Committee that had recently been formed to determine the scope and the depth of what they could do for the national parks. This is Harold Caparn at age 35 when he was working on the Bronx Zoo. His first big commission, he puts it first on his client list. You know, one of the reasons he became a fellow was that he had done this, he had done some writing, and you're in. The estate in the northern Catskills, Pontiora Park, was founded by Candace Wheeler, who in New York City had a lace manufacturing group. She employed women to make lace. She designed interiors, and she founded Pontiora Park as a place for cognoscenti in New York City to get away, be in a pleasant place for summer. So this is the entrance to Wildmuir, and you see the name over here. And it looks like it's going to be another round, but this is a teardrop shaped. This leads to the front of the house. This part of the house was original to Candace Wheeler, the first owner, proprietor, and founder of Pontiora Park. These others were additions. And you find trees and so forth that enhance the entrance. You don't see the whole house right away. This is looking, whoops. Yeah. Her initials of the commissioner of the shrine. Her name was Lee Wood. She had married James Benally Hagan Jr. He had died in the 1890s. She owned the estate. She was very much interested in the interrelationships of arts. So the art of landscape design, mural design, roses, St. Rose of Lima, and so forth. And she was the one who hired Harold Caparn about 1920 to create this garden, the cloister garden. This is going off one side from the steps are to the front of the house, but coming around on the top, have this lovely lawn, curvilinear in form, with a focal point here. That's a Swedish chimney pot. It's intended as decoration, but it sets the distance, if you're standing down here, of how far that is. Gives you a focal point to measure distance, okay? This is looking later, when the present owner had been to Europe and decided that all of those flowers took a lot of time and effort. And he was going to do a sculptural type of garden instead of a painterly garden. So here's what we have. And these are river birch, and they're shaped, and other conifers that are all shaped. The design of the garden is still the same. Change is necessary as plants age and other events happen. In the back, behind the house, is this little lawn. This leads up to the owner's studio here, but he decorated it with this little piece of lawn, and this leading into the natural surrounding of the house. Another idea of designing a garden or a space. He later got Jamie Puritan, a landscape architect from the area, to design this terrace. It has a Rumford fireplace there, which puts out a lot of heat and not a lot of smoke that goes up. So we have here a little semi-formal place to have meals. The time he was designing that, his picture appeared in Country Life in America with this landscape architects who had designed, and the other architects that were shown here are all with their jackets, ties, looking very formal. Caparn chose this because he met with the client, he discussed what the client wanted and how to go about it. He drew plans for them, and then he selected plants and oversaw the implementation of the garden. So here he is at his desk in 1920. Here's the overall plan. And this initially was laid out by the Olmsted brothers. And it encompassed all of this except for this. This is the native flora garden that I talked about. This is Japanese hill and pond garden. There's an alley of cherries that lead from the Brooklyn Museum into the garden. And this is a McKim Mead and White building, if you know them of architecture. Stanford White designed the second big sporting event in New York that burned. The first set burned, and Stanford White designed the second large auditorium for sporting events. Anyway, we will look some at this is the Osborne Garden. We'll look some here at the Rose Garden, and we'll look at the space in front of right there, now the visitor center. So this is in front of the visitor center. This is an armillary sphere, and Caparn designed the base and the armillary sphere. And that photo that you saw of Reese Caparn at age 24, he asked her to design the zodiac symbols that go around the sphere. So here's close-up of serene I stand amidst the flowers and count your passing hours. And you will see here her designs of some of the zodiac. So in one place, he shows where does the sun come from, you know, in the compass on the ground. And then here he shows the passing of the seasons. And this rod is positioned so that it will tell the hour, the time, given the location of this piece. So you've got the day, the hour, the months passing, where does the sun come from? Here are the two water gardens. Caparn designed also these with annuals on one side and perennials on the other as a border. And this huge fountain, you see how tall that is in relation to the people here. It must be about 8 feet tall. And it has fish on each side with water coming out. And the McKinley White building in the back, and this is a conservatory for plants. This is Caparn's design for the rose garden. He said, why do we call something a rose garden when it has conifers and flowers and other things in it? Why don't we make a garden of only roses? He experimented with that idea on the estate of William J. Tully, who was the general counsel for Metropolitan Life. And he did a garden of only roses, 80 feet wide and 120 feet long. And he wanted to determine what people's response would be when the flowers weren't on the roses. He liked it, apparently, because he used that, and this is a 1920 design for the rose garden in elevation. This is what sold the Brooklyn Botanic Garden on doing this size of a rose garden. This is what it looked like about 1930. This is what it looks like today. The same kind of, it has protection of fence along the wall to keep strong winds from the roses, which they don't like. And there's this pergola-like building that is the entrance. Now, when I say pergola, I mean the roof is open, okay? This is a pavilion. The roof is solid, okay? This was designed so that roses could grow. Roses, climbing roses could grow on them. And he would have then a complete rose garden. This is this design in elevation of the Osborne Garden. And we will look at the entrance here, the fountain and so forth. At the other end, wisteria on pergolas. And this is a formal entrance to the north end of the garden. Here's the entrance. The garden just decided that this fountain was just too much to keep running, so they made a planter hole. But you see in the back, and we'll look at these next, what is at the far end of the garden. When he had gone on this tour of Italy and France, he had stopped in Florence and looked at the Boboli Gardens behind the Medici Palace. And so he used that kind of design that he saw there and brought it to this Italianate style garden. Originally, it was to have all sorts of horticultural varieties along in front of conifers of whatever kind. I found that got a little bit much in the way of upkeep. So those are a collection of azaleas. And when they are in flower, they are amazing. So we see here the paired columns from the bubbly garden in Florence. This is Reese Caparn in a photo of, I think it was 1977, and she has one of her sculptures, Moon Rising, which she gave to the Brooklyn Botanic Garden in memory of her father. This was in Newtown, Connecticut. And here's Harold. So here we are. And here are the two original owners. Here's Greylock. And you see the drive coming in, coming around, and here's the circular kind of motif that he brought to designing many entrances. This is very nice, and it's that cobblestones just define the structure and lead to the house. It's Hohensichel. And this tree is very well placed because it screens just a little bit what's behind it and raises your curiosity. I wondered whether the owner was thinking of cats like this.
He was.
He was? Thank you.
It's the home of many rescue keys. It really is.
I love that little touch.
Is this up on Central Drive?
Yes.
This is on the Central, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yes. And this little pergola, which has plantings along here to lead you out, and then a nice quiet place to observe, to talk or whatever. Notice there are 5 bushes here and about 3 bushes here. This is a kind of informal design that Caparn would use asymmetrical groupings. Not always in this shape, but there it is. And the next level down is a swimming pool with an inflatable penguin. Oh no. Flamingo, yes.
We're supposed to take that out.
Yeah. Ed was watching as I was taking the photo, and he asked, do you think you'll use this in your book? And I said, that's probably so. He said, kill the flamingo.
At least it's not on the front lawn.
And at the lower level, this little formal kind of terrace that could be used for all sorts of gatherings. Caparn was so enthralled with Briarcliff Manor that he designed an outdoor theater, especially for Briarcliff Manor. This is a view in elevation, and we see here dressing rooms behind. You can make entrances on either side. This was a stage. And it was flexible to do anything from classical Greek to modern plays. This, oops, sorry.
would you tell the group that where this is designed for, was designed for, is the field right out here?
Yeah,
It's sports field.
It's just over here.
Oh, yeah,
what the playing fields are here going over past the youth centre, that area. It was meant to go there.
Oh, but it never happened.
So this is like a rug, patterned rug. And if you were doing Greek, you could have the speakers here and then the chorus here. Or if you were doing classical things, you could take those away and have them all played down inside. Okay, here's Caparn as he was about 65 or so in here. And thank you. I have some books out there, and I'm donating them to the Historic Society, and if for an additional nickel, I'll send it. There's also a takeaway that's free of Caparn's writings about the informal style. It's what he taught at Columbia University and what he was best known for. So, if you have questions, fire away. Yes.
Just curious about that last slide. Which direction, like being that we've got 9A here and we have the atrium, was the stage kind of parallel to where we are, or was it to be up that way?
I think it's where the youth center is, down that way.
Okay, so on that side.
Facing
This
south.
way. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Where over there was the plan?
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much.
Do you know what Briarcliff means?
It means in Old German, high view or to look over a high area. The only reason I know that is we call the German consulate and asked the meaning of it. It's apparently Old German, and maybe not used so much in the world. That's what I told you.
Yeah, a high view.
High view, yeah.
Can you see the river?
No. When we first had the house built, I climbed up on the top of the roof to see if we could see the river. And I got up there fine, but I couldn't get back down.
Okay, thank you very much. If you have other questions, come on up. There's some refreshments in the back there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.